No, not necessarily. So what's going to happen now is that the judge was actually pretty reluctant, to kind of issue a Rule 3.6. And from your clarification, Jesse, during that commercial break, that was more so just about ethics. No, unfortunately for our viewers, there was no Justin Baldoni, there was no Blake Lively, there was no Ryan Reynolds or any other family members, as far as I could tell from being inside that courtroom.
Why did a judge storm out of the courtroom in the middle of Blake Lively's trial? The answer involves a $2.5 million bribe, a suspicious charity, and a disastrous handwritten note. This is not just a scandal, it's a career catastrophe, unlike any Hollywood drama you've ever seen.
What exactly happened with the protective order? The big conversation was whether or not Brian Friedman, or let alone any other attorneys, how much they can litigate this case in the public, what out-of-court statements can they make.
Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now, back to the video. Judge Ronald Graves isn't the type to lose his composure, but that's exactly what happened. Midway through the hearing, with attorneys presenting yet another round of dry procedural arguments, Graves suddenly stood, handed a small piece of paper to the bailiff, and walked out without saying a single word to the stunned courtroom. You could have heard a pin drop. Well, maybe except for the collective murmurs of, "What just happened?" from the crowd. But this wasn't a case of courtroom theatrics. Within hours, whispers started circulating from courthouse staff and reporters hanging around outside.
Brian Friedman making those statements to the media, trying to, as Blake Lively's attorneys would explain it, trying to potentially taint the jury pool by making these out of comments. What happened now is that the judge was actually pretty reluctant, to kind of issue a Rule 3.6. And from your clarification, Jesse, during that commercial break, that was more so just about ethics, but it was kind of interesting in the sense that it was a lot of back and forth inside that courtroom. So, as far as every statement that was made by Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds' attorney, it was always countered by Justin Baldoni's attorneys. Well, they started it first. They began this first. Had this not happened.
A bribe, a massive, audacious bribe, tied to none other than actress Blake Lively. The $2.5 million donation wasn't just stuffed in a manila envelope like something out of a bad gangster movie. Oh no, it came with a touch of Hollywood flair. A check made out to the Green Nest Foundation, complete with a handwritten note addressed to Judge Graves. The note, apparently written in handwriting best described as "in a hurry," included a desperate plea for what it called long-term media peace. And here's the kicker. The charity itself has been under heavy scrutiny for years, with allegations ranging from inflated accounting to flat-out fraudulent projects. It's almost like someone Googled "suspicious organization" and picked the first result. Graves, though, wasn't interested in theatrics. His reaction was immediate. He passed the note and check along to the bailiff without a second glance.
This wouldn't be an issue right now. So I think on their side, them being the Baldoni team, they're just kind of playing defense, right? Like, all of this started back in August, as far as we can tell. Honestly, all of it started back on that set of It Ends With Us, but go into effect so that way, as far as ethics goes. And this was something actually Baldoni's team wanted. They encouraged it. They came out here during that press conference and were actually pleased by the way that the hearing went. And so I think that a lot of things as far as going forward now, but it's a bunch of he said, she said, but the judge kind of wanted to stop the he said, she said. And as far as kind of making these statements out to the media, again, that Rule 3.6
declared a conflict of interest and shut the entire courtroom down. That walkout? It set the trial back weeks. Nobody moved while reporters scrambled to confirm what had just happened, and the news cycle erupted. Every major outlet started connecting dots, jumping at the chance to speculate how Lively's defense strategy could have spiraled into this disaster. Ironically, that one decision by the judge to shut everything down is what brought Lively's alleged bribery attempt crashing into the spotlight. Her lawyers suddenly found themselves in chaos. Reporters dug into every corner of her camp's shady tactics, and the entire case got thrown into disarray. But was bribery her only desperate move? Let's talk about what drove her there. What makes a Hollywood star risk everything they've built for a clumsy bribe? The answer sits at the intersection of desperation and a case falling apart faster than a bad sequel. Blake Lively wasn't just battling a defamation suit, she was trying to hold together a public image that was unraveling in real time.
Might be a lot lesser than it was before, but look, that website is still up and running. I actually saw the website on Friday when it had first launched, and I think that was also a big issue from Blake Lively's team, is that because they kind of explained that this was all their side of the story. This was one-sided, but you know, when you have receipts, proofs, timeline, facts, text messages, all this stuff, they were okay with the website going up as far as the amended complaint goes. Now, when it came to that timeline, they actually wanted that timeline to be incorporated with the complaint as far as going into that paragraph 4.
Unfortunately for her, this trial was doing the opposite of damage control. Inside the courtroom, things weren't looking good. Damaging evidence came out daily, none of it working in her favor. Group chat screenshots surfaced, proving her original claims didn't line up with reality. These weren't just casual throwaway texts either. They had timestamps, context, the whole package. If that wasn't bad enough, her former assistant dropped a sworn statement contradicting her. In the statement, they revealed that Lively was aware the victim narrative her team pushed was a stretch at best, a fabrication at worst. It was a bombshell that sent her credibility off a cliff. It wasn't just the evidence, it was the vibe inside the courtroom. Internal polling suggested things were swinging heavily against her. 60% of the room reportedly sided with Justin Baldoni's side, leaving Lively's defense looking isolated and desperate. Legal teams thrive on momentum, and hers had zero left. The pressure was palpable. Her lawyers scrambled to patch the damage, but by then, it probably felt like trying to plug a sinking ship with duct tape. And then came the bribe, the move that took a streak of bad decisions and turned it into a masterpiece of self-destruction. Instead of making things better, it triggered a ripple effect. Judge Graves stepped down, delaying the case by weeks. 2 of Lively's junior attorneys were fired, likely for reasons the team didn't want publicized. Even one of her top PR firms jumped ship, citing unethical directives in leaked emails. Lively didn't just lose in the courtroom, her missteps turned her case into a joke, and when the bribe failed, things only got shadier. Blake Lively's alleged attempt to control her narrative didn't just fail, it completely backfired, locking her into a spiraling downfall. The bribe was desperate, sure, but with fake HR complaints and subpoenas targeting content creators in the mix, her efforts looked less like strategy and more like chaos. The fallout was immediate. Hollywood insiders distanced themselves with names like Shonda Rhimes and Reese Witherspoon silently hitting unfollow on Instagram. Netflix even pressed pause on promotions, citing reputational clarity. This wasn't just about the courtroom anymore. It became a textbook example of how desperation can take even the brightest star and dim it permanently.